We are back after Dynamics versus Afreeca game number 2. Afreeca turned the momentum around. So speaking of the draft, first, as Rich mentioned, he locked in the Reigns champion Lucian. So Dynamics locked in a full AD comp, focusing on mid and late game. Afreeca on the other side, they went with a very similar comp, just like game number 1. They took the well-balanced comp and threw out a lot of team fights. Even though Dynamics had 3 ranged champions, well, Afreeca was able to tank a lot of damage, and also the damage dealers were doing so much work in the backline. Dynamics was relying too much on Leona to engage any possible fights. So even though Dynamics did a lot of damage, Afreeca was able to get the better edge of every team fight in the later game. And let's check out the first highlight, the Dragon fight. It was hard to tell who would win this fight. The red team did not have a lot of vision, so they had less idea of what was going on. So for Dynamics, that Mordekaiser was invisible. He just disappeared from the map, so they had no idea that Keen was doing solo dragon. They rather was looking out for his flank TP angle, so Keen was able to solo down the Elder Drake to 4k health. And as soon as Afreeca got the Elder Drake, the fight was completely on their hands. So even though the game was really close, Afreeca won the mind game and they were able to lead the game with their macro skills. Just like game number 1, Afreeca had a very clean and on point team fight ability. And this was the following team fight. So, as Vitori mentioned earlier, they had too much reliance on Leona to open fights. But Leona just melted as soon as he went in for initiation, and Keen was doing a lot of work zoning out the Dynamics players, and at the same time, Mystic was pushing forward an Aphelios, dancing around the battlefield, and Dokdam was the one who took the bait. Because he saw Aphelios on such a low health, he just flashed forward, but Aphelios was doing such a great work, dodging all the possible skills and taking down the Ezreal. So overall, Afreeca was the one that always performed better at team fights. We had another Aphelios versus Ezreal matchup over here, and Aphelios is having a huge edge over Ezreal. Every LCK player, they are both good at Aphelios and Ezreal, so it's not about how they pilot this. But the stats kind of indicates that Aphelios is having a lot of favor in this matchup. Speaking of Aphelios and Ezreal in 5v5 fights, well, Aphelios, its ability has more strength over Ezreal. Well, in some cases, Aphelios has a lot of chances to win lane and get an easy 3-core itemization. Let's check out who will be the POG of game number 2, Dynamic versus Afreeca. This one was a little bit predictable, I guess. So Aphelios, 2 POGs in a row, but this time it's Mystic. He did 50% of the team's damage and he did not die a single time. Because the current meta is about the old classic style of critical damage AD carry. A lot of fans are looking forward to a Mystic to pop off. And that fight, that decision from Mystic was not an easy one, because that could be a gamble for him, but he did not resist to push forward. And whenever we have a 5v5 fight, well, there is no way for Aphelios to lose the momentum and control. So because Dynamics have the full AD comp, they should have actually made more points in the earlier phase of the game. So Mystic picked up 9 votes out of 12, giving more hopes to the AD carry players. So now let's check out who will get the win of today's match number 1 in game number 3. I'll pass it back to our casters. Thank you.
Thank you much, Ji-sun. Thank you much. Thank you very much, Ji-sun.
Thanks much.
For the translation of the analyst desk, breaking down what was a beautiful Aphelios win once again. Valdanalist, you weren't alone. Some of the media also voting for Keen.
They got my back.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Mystic did have a good game, but I do feel like it is mostly because of the strength of the champion that they're able to pop off that hard. I really feel like it was Keen that got a lot of the early game fights going in his team's favor and also played the team fights in pretty much every stage of the game. He was controlling them himself, and then Mystic was following up. So I wanted to give him a bit more credit. It seems like across the board people did not agree, but either way, they both had a great game as they were the only two to pick up any votes. So who's going to be playing Aphelios this game? Who wants to get player of the game? Maybe one of the other lanes can try it out and see if they can get player of the game.
Well, we're not going to see Varus. We're not going to see Twisted Fate, so the bans are going to go the same as they did last time for now. Trundle, though, going to be banned here, and I actually quite like this. I feel like Trundle has dictated a lot of the drafts. A lot of teams do like playing around Subjugate, and it hasn't worked. You were hearing them talking about, it was triple AD carry, basically, in our last game, to try and deny Trundle having too much of an impact. But it doesn't really seem to matter, as there's the Kalista ban coming through from Dynamics and Afreeca. Let's see what they ban away here. Aphelios certainly coming to mind. They banned Corki in game number 1. Karma could also be taken off the board, but Olaf, for some reason, is going to be the ban.
Yeah, maybe they want to ban, or try to get Team Dynamics to go for a Karma and then get Aphelios Yuumi or something like that for themselves. The Karma seemed very obvious. I think that Team Dynamics favor the Karma just so much, especially because Kuzan is such a huge Karma player, and it's been working out for them really well. But again, you are giving up Aphelios, so this is a really big deal. I think that Afreeca feel confident in the Aphelios versus Ezreal matchup, so they're just going to take it. Mystic already had a fantastic game on it. They're going to forego the Yuumi because they can get the 200 years under the sea, as you did Market Atlas.
Yep.
Probably take that there. But I wonder if Team Dynamics would consider going for Yuumi. I mean, you already have one of the big pieces of, this big, Yuumi composition out with the Olaf already banned, but we'll have to wait and see, as Beyond did enjoy his Graves play.
Wow.
Dukdam is going to roll it back here with the Ezreal. We did say that if he had a better Ezreal game, maybe they would have been able to win. There were a lot of team fights that were really on a knife's edge that he was almost able to turn. So if he's feeling more confident this time around, maybe he can make it work.
Well, we've got Spirit considering an old favorite of his in the Nidalee. Was known as a Nidalee player back in the day. Nidalee sort of resurging a little bit here in the LCK, especially for teams like DRX. Pioshik playing that a few times to varying success. Certainly had a good debut game on it here in the Summer Split.
Yeah. It's an interesting pick. I think it's a big focus on Spirit and also on the jungle matchup. But in my mind, I'm like, hell, just go Sejuani or Zach. Get some more beefy boys and let's let Mystic do his thing again. But it seems like Afreeca not going to follow that line of thinking. They want to give Spirit an opportunity to carry here from the jungle. We've seen Nidalee's be really feast or famine, and as a champion she is. And I don't know if he's really going to be able to make it work here, so I feel like that might be one sticking point in their draft for me this time.
Well, Mord actually going to be banned away from Rich. Keen had a great performance on it last time around, not wanting to go down that route this time. Wukong going to be augmented with possibly yet another top lane ban, which will theoretically equate to 5 so far, 4 of which could be in our second round. Looks like the Rich Keen matchup is going to be the focus, and it is, as Renekton taken off the board. So Afreeca, we'll see where they go.
How likely do you think it is that Rich plays Lucian again?
Well,
with a comp that looks exactly the same. Okay. All right.
That's an Urgot.
Okay. I see you. Now, Fly plays a lot of weird stuff.
Yep, could certainly be Fly.
He could definitely roll it into the mid lane. So you do have to be careful, especially against Afreeca. You're not. That's a really strange pick. You're like, okay, what are we gonna do against this? And our team dynamics just going to pick the exact same composition.
Well,
Lucian for the full salty run back.
That is the full salty run back, isn't it? Look, I don't think it was that great, but we'll see. They do need some magic damage. Of course, they do have Karma Ezreal. Ezreal does a lot of mixed damage. They were talking about full AD comp on the analyst desk. It's not necessarily that. But this would help. There is no Trundle to ruin the day of Mr. Ornn. So a possibility here as we tick down, and that is going to be locked in. So, Ornn for the top side into possibly the Urgot, depending on what Fly wants to do.
Well, the Galio is open. He actually had a great game on the Galio, and I saw Fly actually, he didn't go into the coach's room and talk with the team too much. He actually just stayed on stage, and he watched the replay immediately. He was going over it in detail, and I mean, that's a great way to study what you could have done better on the same champion. So I think that he felt very comfortable on the Galio. He's just going to run it back. The mid lane, again, is kind of, you know, it's kind of just a wash. It's Galio up against Karma. We're not going to see too many setups there. Unless, of course, the Nidalee can have a big impact on that lane. I don't think that Fly himself should feel very scared at all, though, as there is a lot of pick potential on the side of Afreeca this time, even more than last game, if you can imagine.
So, having a little bit of a dig through while you were talking there, Mr. Valdez. Keen does have an account where he likes to play around with some different things. Currently been playing a bit of Volibear, but does have a pretty decent win rate on the old Urgot. Currently, he's played 14 games, but 64% win rate ain't too bad. So he has been whipping that one out fairly recently, but it hasn't been in the last week. So I think they've been sitting on this for quite some time. This Urgot pick for the top side. And let's see how it does go. Because once again, very tanky. Maybe not so much coming out of the jungle this time with the Nidalee there, but with Nautilus and the Galio plus Urgot, that's a lot of beef to be in front of Mystic to allow them to play once again exactly the way they did in Game 2.
Yeah, we'll have to see exactly how Spirit is going to pilot this Nidalee. It offers them a little bit more of a chance to, you know, not just only rely on the Aphelios, which, by the way, is totally fine if you are just relying on Aphelios, as we did find out in the last game. But this will allow Spirit to try to shut down the Graves a little bit more. It attacks the jungle more so than the last game and doesn't just allow Beyond to get, you know, 100 CS and 12 minutes or something ridiculous like he got in the last game. And it also offers you some nice objective control. So I don't mind the pick. I don't think that the Trundle was a massive part of why they did win the last game. And so the Nidalee will slot in quite fine after the Trundle ban.
Also don't mind having a bit of added sustain as well. The Primal Surge works similarly to a lot of these more supportive utility-based AP champions, with the fact that it does offer attack speed as well. So Mystic will be augmented as he moves further forward into this game. But the same can be said for the Ezreal here, because Kuzan once again has his Karma. I feel like this is a more honest game, but there is still the 200 years under the sea bottom lane for Afreeca, and that can always make things a little bit more difficult to understand. So Rich will spot Keen here, moving on up towards the top side of the map, and let's just see how oppressive this Urgot can be. Just shotgun legging things, you know?
Yeah.
There we go. taking the disdain first, as Rich taken down to half health already. There's the Conqueror. And yeah, if you move around all of his legs, you're probably going to have a bad time. So Rich might need to opt into a different style of approach to this lane.
Yeah, this is a very important game for Rich. It's very obvious that he is basically a two-trick player. He has played not very many games of anything that is not Aatrox or Lucian. And after the last game, they didn't want to run the Lucian back, understandably, and the Aatrox was banned. So he was kind of forced into something new. The Ornn is relatively simple enough, but you do have to know how to play him. And when you're going into a very strange matchup that Rich probably really doesn't play much of, it's definitely going to be difficult for him as he throws out the sad B and the Afreeca.
The last time we saw Urgot, it was jungle Urgot. That's actually kind of funny.
Yeah, and just over a year ago.
Yeah. Has certainly been a while. Remember when it was a case of every single game had a top lane Urgot, but not in that meta anymore, as Guga not going to be able to find any ability to do much here. Zenith Blade missing, and Beyond is just going to say, well, you guys aren't really doing enough just yet. You can see, you can understand what they're doing, trying to make sure that they do punish the bottom lane, and it's going to work out. Ben has to flash. Oh! The flash forward from Guga was so sexy, but not sexy enough, as he's going to go down. First Blood did go over to Dynamics, so theoretically it's an advantage, but the kill went to the Leona, and Mystic has already got one under his belt.
Yeah, I mean, it looked cool, but you're up against a Nautilus who is always going to punish you for getting underneath turret, and that's exactly what he did. Was able to trade that one back, and as you mentioned, the kill is going to be worth a lot more here. Onto the Aphelios, who's already got a nice, comfy start here in game number 3, not unlike many of the other games tonight. As you guys can tell, I am a little bit salty about, about this champion tonight, as he has pretty much ruled the games that we have been watching.
Well, let's see whether this Urgot versus Ornn lane is going to provide us with a little bit of added entertainment to take our mind off what is happening on the bottom side of the map. We've got a back coming through here from Mystic, as Zenith Blade's going to land right at the end. But this 2v2 is probably not one that you want to take, as Team Dynamics. Teleport's going to come forward. Mystic's completely out of mana, but he's got his flamethrower, and he's got his Varus ultimate, and Beyond's going to have to get the hell out of there. Yeah, I feel like you can bring all your friends, but Mystic is just a little bit too strong, even at level 4.
Yeah, you can't just run straight into Aphelios with Infernum, grab them, and expect to either attack or defend, run away. You're not going to be able to do either, as he did show off there. Top lane hasn't been the kindest to Rich in the early stages, but as he gets items, he's going to have a lot more fun. Notice he's freezing, by the way.
Yeah, freezing or just trying to stop back. So we're going to have a look at this from the perspective of Guga. This was actually really cool, but I don't think worked in the end.
He said nice, and then, oh, it's okay, it's okay.
Whether it is or not is something we're yet to find out, because I think feeding early kills to Aphelios is always a bad idea. That being said, it has equated to a slight CS advantage for Dum down towards the bottom side. He's gone for his pickaxe first to just give himself some of those extra battle stats. A decent idea when you can't afford Sheen on your first back. Might be building towards a relatively early Manamune. Yep, Cannon's going to be traded here in the mid lane. This is something that we got used to in the last one. The old Karma versus Galio. Nothing much happens. Spoiler alert.
Guga was spotted here on this ward. That was right there below the river. So, Afreeca going to have some nice pressure down on the bottom side because of that. Just going to put down some wards. And, you know, I was talking about this, how the mid lane is going to be pretty boring. I don't really think that going for a level 3 gank on the Leona is going to shut down the Galio that has flash. But just trying for it anyway.
Yep. Rich turning back up towards the top side, turns his teleport into an ignite to help with his laning phase. But I don't think there's going to be too much going on in this lane either. Keen, in fact, identifying that to the point where he's going to collect himself a cull and just look to scale. too difficult in this lane at the moment for the Urgot, who remains a little bit further ahead than Rich as far as farm, but I don't think either of these top laners are too worried about the situation.
We're just hanging out. There's not too much action in this game. I feel like every draft has gotten slowly but surely more towards the later game scaling kind of feel. As I was talking about, you know, jungle pressure and what you can do, Spirit has been able to out-farm Beyond and has been able to shut down any kind of early dragon attempts. Different from a lot of other games we have seen. And with some of the pressure, they might just be able to come up here and take that dragon. You notice that even Fly was edging down towards there. They do have vision control over the area, so certainly something they can consider. I think he's getting to work on that now, actually.
Yep, has started that one off. Control vision is in the area. Pixel Brush does have a control ward here for Dynamics, so I think they do know or have an inkling of what's going on. Beyond just going to move on over to take his red buff. So, Ocean going to be taken down first. We have either a Mountain or a Cloud Soul this game. His Infernal Drake will be our second. And Afreeca now looking to try and get into the enemy jungle to try and cause a ruckus. Nothing there, though, so not going to be able to find too much.
They know the timing of the red based on the fact that Keen went down and spotted the blue. Now, they don't know the exact timing because red wasn't the start, but they have a decent idea of when that should be coming up, and Spirit was able to go over there and check it and say, hey, that's down. So Graves should have been here very soon. And you can see there's a lot of pings now on the Rift Herald because they know that probably Beyond is up towards the top side of the map. And Nidalee, because nothing's going on, she can definitely try to get to work on that as well. We'll have to wait and see. She has a lot of camps for now, so that should be the main priority.
Yep, needs to try and catch up to Beyond. Both of these champions very, very good at just hard farming. Some Bellows, and just some burly boys. Wet noodle fighting towards the top side of the map. Things are very even, though. I mean, this Urgot's not necessarily shutting down the Ornn by any means. But Urgot in this comp, I think, is really, really cool. The Fear Beyond Death really will allow Afreeca to snowball these team fights. Yeah. As now, Rich going to try and find his Ornn Horn, gets the knock up there onto Keen, but the Fear Beyond Death is going to arm, and pop goes the Ornn. Good timing there for Spirit to make his way in as well, just to guarantee the kill.
Yeah. It's about the easiest timing you could imagine. Or I suppose the easiest kill that you could actually pick up there. There were a lot of pings on the bottom side Rift Scuttler, and I think they might have seen him on that ward, as Kuzan might be caught out here too.
Yeah, exactly. Great double taunt to come through as end of the line. Does get the double proc. Spirit in a bit of trouble. True Shot Barrage coming down as heroic entrance. Flash forward from Beyond just to make sure that the Kitty Cat Lady does go down. Oh, the interruption from Beyond as well as another end of the line is perfect. That was fantastically played by the mid-jungle duo of Dynamics, and they get themselves a little bit further ahead.
Yeah, it kind of feels like multiple times in a row they're overestimating the taunt CC from the Galio, and it's not really lining up. The enemy is usually able to flash away, as Kuzan was, and they're able to reset the fight. As Beyond was able to come over, he was able to counter gank that time around, as he was not able to up on the top side. And that's going to be a really nice swing over to the side of Team Dynamics, who get Karma her first item. We're going to rewatch this one as Rich playing a little bit too far down the lane. They didn't know exactly where the Nidalee was. It was just about lights out from there. I'm not even sure that Spirit did much, to be honest, in that one.
He put out a Primal Surge.
Yeah.
Didn't do a lot.
And here it's just overestimating the damage that they have. And when a Graves is able to just run around and fight like that, you know he's going to be having a lot of fun. He's able to dash in, stop that one. As let's listen in.
Yeah, he plays this really, really well. There's no ward in this brush, right? Steps just out of range there, waits for the heroic entrance to come down, flashes into the brush to guarantee vision, and here quick draws exactly in the right position to stop the Justice Punch. Just fantastically played by Beyond.
전령 우리가 때려야 돼.
And he's saying we gotta hit the Rift Heralds, and he's so calm. You know, everybody else on his team was basically yelling and screaming like, oh, nice, great play. He's like, okay, where are we going? Rift Herald, we got to take the Rift Herald. Beyond is here to win. He remembers his MVP days. He doesn't want to relive those.
Hey, they were a 4th place team at one point in a spring
great.
split in 2018. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, not even 100% sure because we've already forgotten.
Yeah.
No, I mean, MVP was a fun team, but fortunately they didn't exactly reach that high level we were expecting, perhaps. As Rich, he hasn't had the most fun early game, but he's even on farm. You know, he's up against Urgot, which isn't the easiest matchup in the world, but he's going to sit there and he's going to do his job. And that's really all you can ask from him, because Beyond was able to get such a massive lead now after that play in the mid side. He can be spared his blushes.
Yep. And Rich doesn't get any of those.
I don't even think Beyond got any of that. He was already in the mid lane.
Summon Rift Herald, you get the money regardless, so...
Did they? So I thought it was like 2,000 yards or whatever, meters of units of distance, whatever they use. If you're outside of the 2,000, then you don't pick it up. I didn't see any of the gold fly out, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's a yikes.
But hey, I know it was either they put a range on it or he always gets it.
Yeah, I think he gets it because he killed it. And it doesn't matter, but a team fight's happened here as immediately Spirit just explodes. Keen trying to get into the fight, though. We'll see whether he can actually change this one, as Beyond is going to go down very, very low. It takes him a while to die as Mystic is looking to try and take down Doctor. Oh my god, that was beautifully played. As there's a brilliant taunt coming out from Afreeca's mid laner in Fly, and Afreeca, they turn around what looked like a terrible fight start, as Dynamics do manage to take down the Drake.
That was Mystic just getting in there and 1v2ing like it's nothing. Had a little bit of help from his friend Galio, I believe, to lock down the initial kill onto Beyond, and then he just ends Duckdom's life there towards the end. Really nice play from him. As the initial one, you can see they have insane burst damage. It's a very similar comp to last game, but then here, Mystic able to zone him away, the double root, which is insane. Kills Beyond, and then he lines up the Moonlight Vigil right after the Q with the Calibrum to lock him down over the wall, as he is both Caitlyn and Varus at the same time. So the rest of the fight was kind of just like tanks fighting, but once he essentially eliminated 2 of them by himself, the fight immediately started to go Afreeca's way. And now he's 3-0.
Yeah, Keen's also 2-0, so he's also having a fantastic time. Black Cleaver completed, Glacial Shroud also there. So very tanky. Got his CDR, 30%, pretty good for the Urgot. You just want as much as possible. And yeah, this game has certainly fallen away from Dynamics pretty quickly. They do have that Infernal Drake, and the Mountain is going to be coming up. Mountain's going to be very, very good. Both of these teams, actually. I mean, Rich, of course, benefits massively, as does Guga on the side of Dynamics. And Keen's going to love it. Fly would love it also, and Ben. A lot of frontline here on both teams, so Mountain Drake will certainly be good. Whether it's going to matter, because of Captain 200 Years over here, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if they can line up enough of them, there is a chance that it can negate the amount of damage that a 3-0 Aphelios at 15 minutes can shell out. But most gold in the game will go to Mystic. He also has Cleanse in this one, so he's going to be very hard to lock down on the side of Team Dynamics. And they're facing a real struggle ahead of them. They were at least able to pick up that Infernal Drake, which is quite nice. You don't want to give that to the fed Aphelios and the fed Urgot in this one.
They might be even more fed, as these two members of Dynamics already a little bit softened up underneath this turret.
Okay.
Orange, what the heck was that? That was a spear from Spirit. Okay, thank goodness. I was like, was that Aphelios somehow? No.
Yeah, I know.
Not
sometimes
right.
You begin to...
Solar Flare's going to land onto 2. They don't get onto Mystic as Guga. Trying to get through. Rich does find the Ram and gets it onto the Aphelios, but Guga is most likely going to die, and Doctor can't get back into this fight. Splylet picks up that first kill. Now Rich is trying to get out of there, but a beautiful dredge line is also going to land from Ben. and there was absolutely no way that re-engage was going to work. In the meantime, Keen's just chilling up top lane, getting turret plates. No, not anymore. 16, almost 17 minutes into the game, but he's just going to take down the turret instead. Dynamics have fallen apart. Valdez?
Yeah, it's pretty clear. I mean, they were really trying to force that one, but the turret went down so quickly, and I think that caught them by surprise. And then they were like, oh, we're kind of forced into this anyway. Let's try to get in there. The teleport from Karma, to be honest, at this stage of the game isn't doing too much. So she gets in there, and it's like, oh, well, I guess I'm just going to shield and run away. And it was kind of all over the place. Meanwhile, Afreeca were able to group up and shut it down pretty easily. They're going to pick up Shirley here with a couple of their Fed members. And now they're in a great spot. I mean, they could probably just come mid, drop Shirley, go down, take the Mountain Drake. And still a lot of damage in the comp here. We're going to take another look as Trishal Barras comes out, but then Mystic immediately basically full health because he's Aphelios. And then the knockup comes in, but it's 4v3 for the longest time because Kuzan's teleport was much slower than the hero's entrance. And then it all goes downhill from there, as Duckdom actually nearly died to that spear if he wasn't a little bit, or if he wasn't that fast. So there you have it. Able to turn that one around. The Galio global presence really coming into big effect.
Yeah, I think the heroic entrances have actually been fantastic out of Fly this game. Tower falls topside, so Dynamics do pull it back within about 3,000 gold. I believe that's going to be answered pretty quickly as this turret is on its last legs in the mid lane. I think it was 20 minutes from now that the outer turret in mid fell to Afreeca in game number 2. So we have upped the pace just a little bit here. You mentioned it, through the Herald in the mid lane and then move towards this Mountain Drake, and that's exactly what Afreeca are going to do. And it's all just smooth sailing. So we have the first couple of items picked up by Duckdom, so the Ezreal is scaling, but we're going to have to see more from Duckdom on this champion to really warrant the added emphasis on Ezreal in comparison to the Aphelios. Because so far in the LCK, it's not just Dynamics. Ezreal loses to Aphelios most of the time. I think there's been 9 times now, and he just always loses.
Yeah, the analyst desk actually went into that where it's like 6-1 in favor of Aphelios. And the thing they said, which was interesting, is that most of the players in the LCK know how to play both of these very high-tier AD carry champions to a high level. And there's a reason why Aphelios keeps winning every single time, you know? Yeah. And I think that's a little, you know, that's kind of just taking the stats a little bit out of proportion, but I do agree on some level that it just, from watching the games, that Aphelios seems to help his team a bit more than the Ezreal does, especially with Duckdom not quite able to flex as much as like a Ruler or a Deft would here in the LCK.
Oh, that was actually pretty cute there from Keen as he throws out the ultimate. Does Rich. Good knock-up is going to land, but buffering the dash is pretty good as he disdains his way out. Beyond avoiding one of these spears here, as Mystic will just get to work killing all of these creeps. And Kuzan going to get a snare onto Fly. Just not a lot of damage. Now we're looking for a taunt. Does land here as Afreeca are just going to group in the mid lane. They will be able to take down that turret. Solar Flare stuns 3, which is fantastic, but Mystic is not one of them. And Rich doesn't have his ultimate available just yet. Good double knock up there with just his charge. But he just dies. I'm not entirely sure what the plan was.
Oh, okay.
Aphelios is,
okay.
Is.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that seems fair. I don't know. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, he is on 2 items, and they don't really.
He's 5-0-2. Actually, it barely matters which champion he is right now. He's very, very fed.
But especially because he's Aphelios, he can kill 3 members from 5 miles away. And, yeah, I mean, they're just going to pick up the Baron from here and probably move on to eventually win this one. As we talked about, Team Dynamics, really, they look so clean in game number 1, but I feel like their greenness and their lack of experience in the LCK has really come to hurt them slowly but surely after losing game number 2 and into game number 3. As Ritz gets a nice engage, but everybody else is like, we're too scared. I mean, they're too look at Kate, he's full health and he does a lot of damage even, so.
Oh my god.
As, yeah.
It's a lot of crescendums.
Whoa.
Have a look at Mystic.
내차 할 수 있어. 해도 돼. 잡았어.
I got him.
It wasn't even on the screen.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, no, there he is. All right. Just kill him. All right. Well, Aphelios doing Aphelios things here in the mid-game.
Yeah. That windowed mode, though, I don't know. I don't know if I could play on that.
There's a lot of our players that actually play like that.
It's pretty intense. There's a lot of wasted room on the screen, but I suppose it really focuses in everything on the middle.
Yep. You don't have to move your eyes as much, I guess. More efficient.
And now Mystic is basically a fountain turret here at 22 minutes.
Yep. He's
Walking
very
around, having a fun time, shooting people with his sniper gun. And with the Baron this early on, Afreeca are looking to get whatever advantage they can on the map, trying to push mid and bot at the same time.
It's the 1-2-1 with Spirit sort of running around and assisting in side lanes. Working out very well here so far for Afreeca. Feeling pretty textbook, guys. Guys of the collective waiting at home. This is certainly looking like an Afreeca victory.
Oh boy.
And Mystic is having a good time as Kuzan gets a snare onto Keen. The turret's doing a lot of work. As we'll see whether Keen is going to be able to survive this one. True Shot Barrage straight up misses, and we're not going to be able to get any of the throwback. So Kuzan will survive for the moment. Keen does fall down, but he buys a lot of space for his team to take down both inner turrets in mid and bot lane.
Yeah, a worthy sacrifice, essentially. He's got TP. It'll be ready here on time for the Mountain Drake. And Mountain Drake is actually really nice for their team because you're even going to go Death Stance on the Aphelios, so everybody is going to have resistances. You got Athenes and the Ninja Tabby. Let's take a look at how this started up here. He actually just went for the kill, but wasn't quite able to lock him down for long enough inside of his machine gun. Didn't quite have the damage, then eventually got punished for it. But as we said, I mean, both bot and mid-tier 2s go down in the trade as everybody on the side of Dynamics went over there to try to lock him down.
Yeah, really was the priority, trying to take down the Urgot. Shows a little bit of desperation here as it's 6,000 gold lead for Afreeca. They have Soul Point now with triple Mountain Drake stacking, which would be absolutely terrifying, as you already illustrated. And Baron's going to be back up in 2.5 minutes. Afreeca just running away with Game 3. After what was looking like Dynamics series to win after game number 1. But I mean, this happens, man. You get like a game number 2 where Afreeca are able to win it in 50-odd minutes. The momentum's certainly with them moving into this game. And I guess the elephant in the room that we have to address is why the heck people are prioritizing Ezreal over Aphelios.
Yeah, or Karma over Aphelios.
Or banning Aphelios.
Yeah, they were on blue this side as well. They were like, you know, actually I'm going to ban, what do they go for bans here? TF Trundle, Callista.
Yep, and yeah, as Varus said, Olaf on the side of Afreeca this time around is Fly. Not going to be able to Justice Punch his way out. Slow does land from the smoke screen out of Beyond. Not going to be able to take down the Galio.
Yeah. And if you're watching this game and you're saying to yourself, Aphelios is very, very strong right now. And I mean, I do agree. I think he is a bit overtuned right now. There are ways to try to draft around it that I think Dynamics haven't really totally done. I mean, shorter range champions that get in your face to do damage are not going to have fun against a guy who will just do 1,000,000 times more damage in an AoE fashion like Aphelios. So you either have to outrange him or you have to outpoke him, basically. And I feel like in both instances, they didn't quite get enough of either. Like the focus on the Leona Graves, let's say, for instance. You really need to get right in the face of the Aphelios to do your damage and to get your lockdown, because Solar Flare is incredibly hard to hit. Just you know, straight up. Also, he has cleanse, so that's not going to just do it by itself. It's something that LS has talked about a lot, where he feels like a lot of teams aren't really drafting well against Aphelios, and that's part of the reason why he's having so much success. Because teams just kind of sit there, draft comps that aren't great into them, and then let him scale up and then die to him in the point where he looks the strongest. So,
and
we'll have to
also
wait and see.
Yeah, he's being delivered lanes that he can win as well, which is absolutely crazy. Because there are certainly lanes that can punish the Aphelios, but this Aphelios Nautilus is winning against all sorts of different lanes that we've seen thus far in the LCK. So we'll see how our teams are going to deal with it as time goes on, and we'll see how Dynamics deal with Afreeca in this game. Certainly feels over. 7,000 gold the lead at 27.5 minutes into this game. The Baron is available. Mountain Drake up in a minute and a half, which will be the Mountain Soul. Dynamics desperately trying to find whatever vision control they can get their hands on. Right now you can see how many Afreeca has in the area. Control ward's going down, but Spirit will immediately get rid of that. Mystic just waiting behind the rock, looking for an opportunity to kill everyone.
Yeah. He's not really scared of much, as they don't have too much CC. I like the idea of adding in the Ornn if you're going to go with Ezreal Graves Karma again for that extra range lockdown. You're going to try to struggle to get in here. I don't think it's going to work.
Yep, Beyond is going to be over to the side, but they are going to pull off the Baron. Heroic entrance is good, making sure that they keep Mystic safe. His health bar is full. That means that Afreeca are winning. Guga's going to go down. Rich trying to dive in as Mystic going down low. Guga's at least tanky, but look, he's not going to be killing Mystic anytime soon. Doctor now trying to do what he can, but he's softened up some members of Afreeca. Now, I mean, theoretically, you can try and go in for this one as Mystic flashes on top of him. Kuzan and Beyond are still alive. Kuzan using that Mantra W to keep himself up. Keen gets a huge heal out of that Primal Surge. It's what happens when Athenes is built second on your Nidalee. But Dynamics do manage to walk away with their lives.
Yeah, finally Duckdom is making that Ezreal worth picking against a ultra-fed Aphelios. Aphelios really not the best guns for that fight. I think he had Infernum Gravitum, and that's good in lane for locking down multiple members, but okay, that was close. Nice try by Keen. He had that extra movement speed after the teleport, and that will give them the Mountain Soul, which essentially means that Afreeca still won the fight in a big way.
Oh, yeah.
But
I mean, they did anyway. They killed more people.
Yeah, true. And, yeah, I mean, Mystic, even though he didn't have the right guns, he's still so far ahead that it didn't actually matter in the end. I feel like Dynamics did fight this probably as best as you could, right? It's pretty all over the place. The tanky members of Afreeca aren't getting the most value that they possibly could. And Duckdom was kind of left to do his own thing. So if there was going to be a team fight for him to win, I'm going to have to hold that thought.
Yes, we're teleporting into the bottom lane with Baron available. Keen possibly going to go down here, but 1 versus 3 means that it's going to be a bit of a walk to get Dynamics back to the area. Spirit already there, but it looks like they're not going to collapse immediately. And Mystic was for some reason bottom lane, so not going to capitalize just yet. But he's got a big shield with Severum and Mountain Soul. He needs a Bloodthirster to have, like, actually 2/3 of his health bar be shield naturally at the beginning of every fight.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
So, yeah, Keen just kind of gets caught out here. They do expend a teleport for this, which I'm not 100% sure if they did need, but Beyond is in there, or rather Kuzan is in there to give them the shields to secure the kill. As we mentioned before, the Karma teleports aren't ultra effective anyway, and it's not like these teams have been focusing too much on split pushing either. So, able to get in there, pick up a kill. It's a small win. They're going to need a lot more of those to try to come back in this one against Mountain Soul.
100%. They do have some ornaments coming in. You know, Luden's Pulse completed. Kuzan probably would want those stats on Rabadon's, but he's nowhere near that item. So they need the stats now in order to keep themselves in this game. Whether they are is, I guess, something that you can debate among yourselves. Up against Mountain Soul and a 7,000 gold deficit plus Aphelios with 4 items. He's a very scary prospect, but they are still here. They are on the rift. The fat lady, she's warming up her vocal cords, but she hasn't started her aria just yet. Now Afreeca moving towards this Baron, which is available. True Shot Barrage used just to scout it out. Rich dealing with Fly on the bottom side.
Yeah, they're going to have to shell out some insane amount of damage into this Afreeca team that has so many defensive stats. Can Keen actually just solo this? I think he can, but Spirit is going to help out.
Going to take a while, but yeah, possibly.
The two of them can definitely duo it, so they're just going to go with that and let Aphelios try to zone them out with the help of the Nautilus.
Rich looking to try and get himself a home guard teleport potentially, but no, just going to move back towards the bottom lane because Fly is still pushing. Get a decent knock up, but not doing any damage whatsoever to the Galio. Get the turret involved. You're going to at least stop him from standing under it for too long. But you can see Afreeca back on this Baron. The shields and heals and everything coming through onto this team are just ridiculous.
Yeah. The
back away.
The 30-minute Roa on the Nidalee is kind of laughable, yeah, but at the same time, she's doing her job. You know, she got the Athene second after jungle item, and you know she's not here to get massive hits with her spears, or she wants that support item first, and she did pick that up. So it looks a little bit funny, but eventually does get it, as it's definitely one of the best items for Nidalee anyway. And the game seems to be going long anyway, so we'll see if it can at least stack by the end of this one.
Last game was very, very long, so theoretically you will be able to get full stacks as Guga's going to get pulled back into the team. Flashes away. The ulti comes through. Thankfully, does have a few heals available and the shielding in from the Inspire, and Guga somehow survives. Not bad. Gets the heal out from Docdam just to help him out with the Inspire on top of it. But Afreeca know that Guga's not going to be anywhere near this next fight. They should be able to start this Baron and understand that it's a 5v4 with very big turn opportunities. Oh, Fly waiting off to the side. The vision is perfect here as Rich is going to face check. It's a great taunt. He's thrown around like a ragdoll. It's most definitely going to go down, not without getting a decent knock-up out first, but that's removing another member from the fight. And yeah, Mystic's on fire. Doing a lot of damage at this Aphelios as he might get all 4 of the Afreeca wins player of the game.
Yeah, I think he will. Good old Aphelios helping him out there. And yeah, pretty much eventually had to give that one away. The Nautilus is sitting on 225 armor just without even using Stoneblade, which he has already. As someone had to face check. They weren't just trying to give it away without putting up a fight, but they barely tickle the front line of Afreeca at this point with the extra shielding and all the extra resistances. It's not an easy feat for the members of Team Dynamics.
I love this. Spirit's actually just built a Mikhail's Crucible as his 4th item. He's going full utility, which is exactly what you want to be doing. Damage is basically irrelevant, especially when you've got a lot of magic damage coming out of Fly now. My god, Rabadon's Death Cap completed as his 4th item. Got a 5th one to come through, which should be a Void Staff. As Afreeca, they've got 5 seconds until the Elder Drake, which will be their next target. True Shot Barrage comes down, as that's a lot of damage onto Spirit, but he bounces his way out of the fight. Warnhorn is brilliant, as there's the Fear Beyond Death. Guga's going to go down. Heroic Entrance to come in here as well. Gets the knock-up only onto Rich. As Fly going down low. Mystic, guys, is at full health. And there's the burst damage that we were waiting for. I was just wondering when that fight was going to instantly be over with the amount of AoE that good old Aphelios does have available to him. Took them a while. It looked like it was a decent attempt there from Dynamics, but Afreeca, they were just too tanky, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, they're so far ahead at this point. I mean, it's almost 10,000 damage that, as we were saying before, even if they do get the perfect engage, which it was about as close to perfect as you're going to have a chance of in that last fight with the Solar Flare onto multiple with the True Shot Barrage coming in, they really just don't take damage. And it looks like Spirit was the one that they got to about half health.
Yeah.
And then he just backed off, healed himself, and
8,300 of healing.
So
not bad, especially when you're considering Nidalee versus Karma. And he did more work than Kuzan did, which is absolutely insane. Rich trying to get rid of Keen, but Keen ignoring him for now. Kuzan's going to move in and at least make him rethink that idea, but the inhibitor's going down in the mid lane. It's taken for free. Mystic's happy to frontline by the looks of things. Infernum Severum is actually a terrible combo when he's this fed. And that's 2 inhibitors. Lickety split, and remember there's an Elder buff, so this is a team fight that you don't really want to take if you're Dynamics. Rich looking to try and throw the ram in. He does manage to nail Mystic. It does no damage as there's no live visual. Explosion of damage there as immediately it's a triple kill coming through from Fly. Will he be able to get himself the Penta? The answer is no, but it's a cheeky quadra kill with 1 stolen by Spirit, and congratulations Afreeca. Turn the series around and find themselves at the top of the LCK for Summer.
Yeah, nicely done. I think that team dynamics kind of fell apart there in the early game, and Afreeca, with their experienced players, were able to shut it down and get too massive of a lead for team dynamics to have much of a chance to come back in that one. Some interesting picks there. The Nidalee coming back out, the Urgot as well.
Urgot was cool.
That was pretty cool.
I liked it. Adds a bit of a burly front line there and also can do a bit of extra damage. Also Keen has always been fantastic at the champion. As you need to make a decision, Mr. Pogboy.
I'm like sitting here, I know who I think deserves it, but I don't want to give him the
You have to.
Where's my Aphelios option?
You actually have to give it to Mystic too, I think, for this.
Yeah.
He did play actually really well.
For sure.
Especially after his first game, which was the Ezreal pretty disappointing performance. They got absolutely crushed by the lane that he then decided to pilot 2 games in a row, which then allowed them to win. So, I don't know. Unfortunately, Team Dynamics, they allowed the bottom lanes to remain the same 2 games in a row and lost, which, you know, you can argue is a gigantic mistake. But they tried a few different things to try and shut that one down, and it just wasn't enough to get them across the line. Mystic having a really good turnaround game, actually. You have to shout out someone that's able to mentally readjust after a difficult game number 1. That's exactly what they were able to do. So, Mystic likely to be out in the lead as far as Pog points are concerned. Thank you very much, Mr. Aphelios.
Yeah, I would imagine so. And Afreeca are one of the teams that, well, I was about to say they're favoring Aphelios over Ezreal, but then I remembered that in game number 1,
no, Aphelios
they picked
has been
Ezreal.
First picked every time.
They picked Ezreal though, right?
Yeah.
Didn't they? They picked Ezreal, and then Team Dynamics were like, oh, okay, Aphelios Nautilus, easy. After they already...
All right, so in game 3, Aphelios was prioritized over Ezreal.
Yeah.
But in the other ones, Ezreal was prioritized over Aphelios every time. So Afreeca are the ones that learnt. They saw the first pick on the Karma and they said, well, I guess we're doing this dance again. And they did. And the Aphelios difference was pretty powerful.
Yeah, it definitely was. And it'll be interesting to see how this affects the future games as well, how the other teams look at this and say, well, a lot of these games were actually decided by Fed Aphelioses and teams that worked well around that 80 champion.
But
and
also,
if we'll see any more priority on that one.
Yeah, I find it really interesting, though, because in our next match, we've got Hummerlife versus T1, and Teddy is a very different Ezreal, right? This guy is probably going to land a few more of those Mystic shots instead.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll see whether there is going to be an Ezreal difference, which is the biggest situation. As we jump into the highlights, this was Guga. It was a really, really cute guarantee of the kill, but guaranteeing Mystic gets a follow-up is real bad news.
Yeah. Bunch of highlights here. Rich looked a little bit green, let's say, on the Ornn versus Urgot matchup, but I don't know of many members that would have been very experienced in that one. Beyond good early game, great positioning here. He's able to essentially 1v2 by the end of this one. Kuzan as well, understanding his limits, able to come back in and help out with that one.
Yeah, it was nicely played in the early game from those two, but I think it was this team fight that things really started to fall out of Dynamics' hands.
Yeah. I'm not too convinced by Leona, by the way. I think that early and mid, her pick potential is pretty massive, but after that, it doesn't seem to do too much, especially against an Aphelios with Cleanse. She, like, blew her entire kit onto Nidalee, which is good because she's going to be very squishy and maybe you can burst her down and start the fight 5v4. But if you're letting the Aphelios after that kind of run rampant, then you're not necessarily doing your job, which is what happened in a lot of these fights. Mystic able to fight front to back on this one, but it wasn't really an Aphelios difference here. It was more of a macro teleport play win by Afreeca in that fight.
This was a little bit more the Aphelios difference, if memory serves. Mystic stays in the back line. Heroic entrance, absolutely fantastic for peeling, and yeah. There's a lot of chakrams.
Yeah.
A lot of chakrams.
I don't know where he holds them all.
They're in one of his guns. One of his 7 million guns. He's like the Doom guy, you know, able to carry like the most gigantic weapons, all of them, like in basically a non-existent backpack that's somewhere. I don't know, it's like Mary Poppins.
We saw Duckdom actually have a pretty good fight in this one, but it's really just highlighting that Aphelios is great in cleanup moments, which Afreeca did a really good job of trying to avoid as many of those as possible, trying to fight 5v5 straight up. Watch the front, take it slow, be careful. Watch horn, watch horn. Karma, and then hit the turret. Kind of sounds like Ben is talking the most.
Yeah.
It's interesting as, you know, he's not a new player at all, but he's a new player to the roster, I suppose.
Not a new player to many of the players on this team. Remember, this is the 60% WE team.
Yeah.
Has played with Mystic and Spirit in the past, back over in the LPL. But yeah, it looks like him and Spirit are sort of sharing the shot calling duty, which is something that Spirit had on his own shoulders for basically the entirety of last season, which was, I think, to the detriment of Afreeca, meant that they didn't feel as flexible moving Dread into the roster, things like that. But this was certainly a lot less back and forth than game number 2, and Afreeca just showing that they have a little bit more endurance when it comes to these best of threes. But it also shows that best of threes are great, because otherwise it would have been Dynamics walking away with a very convincing win, and you know, people would be saying Dynamics super good.
Yeah.
But now, not
a big fan of the best of ones, to be honest.
It's
just going to be Mystic that does pick up the MVP, the POG here. And
decent DPM there with 863, not too bad.
He also had another game where he didn't die. Game number 2 was like 11-0 and 4 or something, 11-0 and 5. This time, pretty similar, 5-0-11.
We'll actually have to have a look at his KDA on the old Aphelios.
Yeah, he had a great game of Aphelios. Like, we can say what we want about the champion, but his ability to play this champion is very, very good. It's excellent, in fact.
Oh, yeah.
He's always landing those Moonlight Vigils onto the right targets, depending on whatever gun he does have.
His stats are actually going to be absolutely insane after this series as well. Mystic certainly having a good start. They had a good start last season, though. And we need to make sure that Afreeca can keep themselves moving forward, claim that momentum as they do move into first place here in the LCK. You might ask, you know, why DRX aren't up there, but they won both of their series 2-1, and this was 2-0-2-1, so the game score is going to be ahead here at the moment after our first week for Afreeca.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll see whether they can keep moving forward, as now I believe we do have an interview as everything goes quiet.
Yeah. They're shutting off the music early now as we got to prepare the stage for the interview.
And we're going to get bored of talking to Mystic over and over again, but here we go with G-Sun for some translation.
4 POGs in a row, how do you feel, Mystic? After the Death Dance, yeah, I mean, AD carries got much stronger, so I'm happy. And also, I'm extra happy that I win because I played well. So I want to go straight to this question, Phyllis versus Ezreal. And also, whether if Ezreal is actually good or not. It's 7-0 currently, the matchup. Well, the power spike for both champions are different, so I think affiliate teams are winning because they don't fight or they don't answer the fight when Ezreal is strong.
비주도 괜찮은데.
Israel is also very decent.
현재는 7대 1인데 그럼 보기에 뭐 5대 5 정도입니까? 아니면
Do you think it's 50-50 or like 6-4?
나머지 조합이 비슷하다고 보면은.
Well, if you have a similar comp, Affiliates has more like a comfortable game, to be honest.
그러면 이제 나머지 조합이 나와서 하는 말인데, 스피릿 선수가
Speaking of a comp,
창든 유미의 역할을
so
했어요.
Spirit was the Yumi on Spear.
간 건가요? 아니면
Was that your request, his itemization, or was that his own decision? We thought that the next team fight will be the last one, so I had my cleanse down. So Spirit told me that he was gonna build the Crucible for me, and I thought that would be really great because I had no cleanse. So you got 4 POGs in a row, and I guess you must be really happy with this bot carry meta, right? How do you like the meta?
저는 괜찮게 한다고 생각해요.
Well, I think I'm doing pretty well.
그런 점에서 원래 아프리카 프릭스 원조 캐리라고 할까요? 기인 선수가
And Kiin used to be the
좀 빨리 나왔어요.
original carry potential of Afreeca, and this time he locked in Urgot. What was the plan in that champion? I'm not really sure whether that's a good pick, but during the scrims he practiced it for a bit of a time and he said he's gonna play it, so we were like, okay, do it. But I'm not still sure about this champion.
자 이제 다음 경기는 디펜딩 챔피언 T1과
Your next opponent will be T1, the defending champion, and they'll be
달려나게 될 텐데
playing later today.
자 어떻습니까?
How are we going to prepare for that series? We're on a 2-match winning streak, and we are going up against T1 in our next series. So we will do our best and try our best to get a win in that series. But I'm not sure about getting 6 POGs in a row. So this will be the end of the interview with Mystic from Afreeca Freecs, and I'm going to pass it back to our casters. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Ji-sun, for the interview. Translation, as per usual. Good to hear from Mystic. I think there are other members of the team, but unfortunately, we don't get to talk to them because Mystic keeps walking away with POG points. Guess how many points he won today?
200.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
200
That's how many points he got. Dynamics still over on the west side, but Afreeca, as we mentioned before, move into first place.
Yeah. It's hard to look at standings this early on, but you get a sense of how teams are doing. You see that, some surprises. T1 and Genji losing their first game, but they both had to face DRX. So from here on, we should expect their win-loss ratio to get a bit better, and we do see Afreeca up towards the top, but I want to see them go up against stronger teams. Team dynamics, we can kind of say that I think they need a bit more experience in the LCK. They look really clean and solid, but we just need to see more. I'm not convinced that they're a top 5 team just yet.
Yeah, I also want to see them in games without the Aphelios problem existing, because I feel like that overshadowed what was potentially going to be a little bit more competitive. But it certainly was in games 1 and 2, and Game 3 honestly looked like Afreeca just understood the matchup a little bit better. But guys, it's a big one. T1 versus Humble Life right after the break.